It's boring. It's the same thing everyone else is doing. If I see one more Insta video with somebody pointing around at what becomes their screen and captions suddenly appear, I'm going to vomit all over my mobile device. No, my office is not well lit. The background is dark. You know why? Because it's my office. It's not the office I think you think I should have. For me, it's more of a study. It's intimate. It's moody. It's a place where the environment is set such that I can get deeply focused and get some real work done. It's authentic. What you see is what you get. There's no BS with me. There's no pretending I live in some multi-million-dollar home with the most incredible office ever. And most importantly, it's for me, not for you. I call this my home office theater because in seconds I can push this chair aside, hop into the recliner chair behind me, wrap myself in that fleece blanket, and I can be streaming shows or playing video games in this environment. And I could sit in there and live for probably days if I needed to, because in the right side armrest there's a DC plug and 2 USB ports, and in the left side there's storage where I've got a 10 USB port, so I can keep plenty of devices charged for quite some time before I'd have to get up out of that chair, except of course to eat something. And bottom line, I can relax in pure comfort here. I can enjoy the time just reading something just the same. And speaking of reading, I keep reading that comfort is a drug, and I'm calling bullshit on that right now. Like many things, including water, if you have too much of something, you can have too much of something that otherwise is a good thing. But comfort and freedom, to me, is the whole freaking point. That's why we start our own businesses, is because we want the freedom and we want the comforts that can be afforded us when we make the kind of money that are, such that we can provide that sort of comfort. Right? So to say that comfort is a drug, that it's a bad thing, I think is misguided at best. At worst, it's downright misleading. Of course you're supposed to do this to be comfortable. I would like to see any of these people making these claims, some of them very famous ones, who I'm pretty sure make good money. I'd love to see their homes and see how uncomfortable their homes are. Doing things right, or in other words, the way you see other people doing things, may actually be the wrong way for you. You do you. This is true self-love, as in, this is me. Take it or leave it. Whenever you do whatever it is that you do it with a style that reflects your true nature, the person whom you really are. This is authenticity at the core. And let people criticize you and take pleasure in ignoring them, because they're probably jealous because they can't tap into that freedom that you now have. They stay locked in a self-constructed prison because they can't escape the notion that they have to do things the way everybody else does them. The freedom to be yourself, the freedom to say something that is truly your point of view based on your experiences. That is where your value comes in. Now, if you love a brightly lit office, then get the brightest damn ring lights you can find and shine on. I love my dim lights, and if I'm being honest, I want you focused on me, not necessarily what's in my background. In most cases, I want you focused on my screen, which I'm going to share with you normally within a few minutes of any video that I've done, so I can teach you the things that I've learned about how to make my life easier. My bookshelf has stuffed animals hanging around on it because that's who I am. I love them. They make me happy. And each one of them represents a story, so that anytime I look over there, I can look at a particular one, and I can almost guarantee you every time I do, it'll put a smile on my face because of whatever memories I've got attached to that stuffed animal, and when or where or how or why I acquired it. Most of you just have books on your shelves, and that's okay if that's a true representation of you. But I'm guessing in many, maybe most cases, that isn't really you. Not entirely anyway. Especially if you haven't read all of them, which means these are unfinished stories, right? It means that those books behind you aren't a true representation of your knowledge. They might half represent your knowledge and half represent what you intend to acquire to be your knowledge, right? But it's inauthentic. And I'm not shaming people, who have books on their shelves they haven't read yet. My point is, go read them. Finish those stories so that you can truly speak to, if someone were to ask, exactly what all those books mean to you. Then go make a video and share your stories about these books and what you've learned from them. But don't get hung up on making that video perfect. Just do you. Make sure your audio is good and make sure your video is clear and focused. For some reason, I'm seeing a lot of reels on Instagram lately where the video suffers from several rounds of compression and it's blurry. And what that tells me is if you've got the perfect background, you spent too much time worrying about the perfect background and not enough time worrying about the production quality. And I think production quality goes a much longer way to authenticity than the perfect background does. As a matter of fact, I was recently hired by Intuit to do another video, and the production company I'm working with on this one is one that I've worked with before, and every time I work with him, he recounts the same thing to me, that he, to this day still, The video that he's worked with me on that has had the most success, that has gotten the most views, is one that I did that was a fair bit longer than they had requested. It was supposed to be like a 60-second video. It was like 90 seconds. But the bottom line was he admitted to me that because of how authentic the video came across, he's convinced that that's why that video did so much better than any other video he's ever worked on with me, or I guess anybody else, where he's worked with people on a lot of these projects for Intuit. And it's not rocket science why this would be. People connect better when they feel like they're getting the real authentic you. If you're standing around not saying a word and pointing and captions appear, I don't know about others, but the feeling I get, my reaction to those videos is I'm not getting any kind of a real sense of who you are because you're not talking to me. It almost comes across, and I know a lot of people who do this is not true about them, but the way it often comes across to me is cold and sort of pretentious, I guess, is the best word I can find for it. It doesn't feel to me like we're making a connection. It feels to me like you're, saying something at me instead of sharing something with me. The bottom line is authenticity is warm. Overly polished is cold. So do me a favor. Get out there. Start doing something wrong. Fuck the whole thing up if you need to, but just get stuff out there and stop worrying about having the perfect polished video. I'd much rather get an experience with you where I'm getting a sense of who you actually authentically are. Just do you. Thank you for reading and watching. This has been a presentation of Talk Nerdy to Me Productions.